In March 2020, a man looked into a camera and said 15 days. 15 days to slow the spread. Stay home. It'll be over before you know it. Those 15 days became 2 years. Schools closed, businesses collapsed, freedoms disappeared, and when it was over, nobody apologized. Now it is March 22nd, 2026. Same man, different crisis. The president says the war is, quote, very complete, pretty much. Oil prices? A very small price to pay for safety. Short-term pain, temporary. Trust us. But right now, the Strait of Hormuz, a 33-kilometer strip of water between Iran and Oman, is effectively shut. 20% of the world's oil is trapped. Schools are closed in Pakistan. Restaurants are dark in India. Elevators are off in Thailand. And the lights are going out across half of Asia. Oops. This is not about left or right. This is about a pattern. Someone else holds the remote control to your life. In 2020, they pressed pause on your movement. In 2026, they pressed pause on your energy. Different button, same remote. And the bill lands on the same address, your kitchen table. By the end, you'll understand 3 things. How one narrow strait controls whether 1 billion people can cook dinner tonight, why the 2020 Playbook is running again, and how a restaurant owner in India just lost his flame, not to a virus, but to a war he never voted for. Let's call him Ravi. 51, runs a small restaurant in Pune, India, 15 tables, a kitchen the size of a parking spot. His specialty, slow-cooked mutton curry and chai that people drive across the city for. Every morning at 5, Ravi lights his gas burners. The blue flame hisses, the steel pot's warm, the smell of cardamom fills the kitchen before the sun comes up. That flame is his entire world. No flame, no food. No food, no income. On March 5th, 2026, the Indian government issued an order. Households first, restaurants last. Commercial LPG was capped at roughly 20% of normal supply. Ravi's distributor stopped delivering. His burners went cold. He pulled mutton curry from the menu, then the samosas, then the dosa, then everything that needed sustained heat. In the country that feeds 1.4 billion people with fire, the fire went out. Stay with me. Here is the machine, the Strait of Hormuz. A narrow water passage, 33 kilometers wide. Every day, roughly 20 million barrels of oil and 1/5 of the world's liquefied natural gas squeeze through it. LNG is just natural gas cooled into liquid, so it fits on a ship. Think of the strait as a single fuel pipe feeding half of Asia. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched joint airstrikes on Iran's military infrastructure. Iran retaliated by doing the one thing every energy analyst had feared for decades. It shut the pipe. The exact trigger is debated, but by early March, the strait was effectively closed. Insurance companies pulled coverage. Major shipping lines suspended routes. Tankers sat idle. A trickle got through, mostly Chinese and Iranian flagged. Since March 2nd, barely 90 ships have transited, compared to over 100 per day before the crisis. For the global market, the tap was off. The International Energy Agency called it the largest disruption to oil supply in the history of the global market. Larger than 1973, larger than anything. Brent Crude shot past $100 a barrel on March 8th. At its peak, 126. And here is the unlikely connection. How does a military strike in the Persian Gulf turn off a gas burner in Pune? Bombs fall on Iran. Iran shuts the strait, ships stop, LPG stops, India rations supply, restaurants lose gas, Ravi loses his flame. 12,000 kilometers, 14 days. One unbroken line from a missile to a kitchen. The dominoes fell fast. Pakistan moved first. Schools closed for 2 weeks. Government offices shifted to 4 days. Fuel prices jumped 55 rupees per liter overnight, the largest single hike in the country's history. 28 days of oil reserves. Roughly 240 million people counting barrels like wartime rations. Thailand went next. Air conditioning fixed at 27 degrees. Elevators restricted. Civil servants ordered to take the stairs. 95 days of energy reserves left. If the crisis worsens, billboards go dark and petrol stations close at night. India cracked hardest. Roughly 60% of its oil and 90% of its LPG imports normally transit the strait. When the strait closed, weekly imports dropped roughly 30% overnight. 30 to 35% of hotels and restaurants shut down in some cities. In Tamil Nadu alone, estimates suggest nearly 10,000 establishments went dark. Crematoriums ran out of gas. A country of 1.4 billion people discovered that the distance between a hot meal and a cold kitchen is exactly 33 kilometers of water. Oops. Ravi stands in his restaurant at 6 in the morning, steel pots on dead burners. A delivery driver knocks, not with a gas cylinder, but with a bill. Rent. His cook sits on a plastic stool outside, scrolling for jobs. Through the window, the tea stall across the street has switched to an electric induction plate. The chai doesn't taste the same. Indian cooking is alchemy. High heat, heavy pans, open flame. Take away the fire and you take away the flavor. Ravi didn't lose to a competitor. He lost to a strait he'd never heard of. Meanwhile, at the pump in California, gasoline hit roughly $5.50 per gallon. The national average crossed $3.50, up almost 60 cents in a week. The president called it a very small price to pay for safety. Now, the pushback. The war was necessary, Iran was a genuine threat, the strait will reopen, and strategic oil reserves are being released, roughly 400 million barrels, the largest coordinated release in history. Fair enough. But here's the mechanism question. If the goal was to neutralize a threat, why is the bill landing on a restaurant owner in Pune and a commuter in Los Angeles? Reserves buy weeks, not solutions. And this pattern, promise temporary, escalate behind the scenes, send the bill to the kitchen table, didn't start in 2026. In 2020, it was 15 days. It became 2 years. In 2026, it was short-term pain. Schools are closed, kitchens are dark, and we're in week 4. The crisis changes. The playbook doesn't. Oops, 3 things to carry with you. Economic. The Strait of Hormuz is not geography. It is a weapon. Whoever controls it controls the price of everything downstream. One choke point, 20% of global oil. One decision shuts it all down. Social. In 2020, the sacrifice was social. Stay home. Don't gather. In 2026, the sacrifice is physical. Don't cook. Don't drive. Don't use the elevator. The freedom that disappears changes shape. The mechanism that takes it stays the same. Global. Ships are idle. Schools are closed. Kitchens are dark. And the word temporary is doing heavy lifting again. The samosa shops in Jaipur are closed. The elevators in Bangkok are off. The gas pumps in California are charging $5.50. And the remote control is still in someone else's hand. Remember the remote? In 2020, someone pressed pause on your freedom and called it safety. In 2026, someone pressed pause on your energy and called it strategy. The button changed. The hand didn't. The person holding the remote never missed a meal. Ravi's burners are still cold. His chai still isn't right. And the war that was supposed to be very complete, pretty much, is in its 4th week with no end date. The question isn't whether the strait will reopen. The question is how many times the same playbook has to run before we stop believing the word temporary. If energy prices are changing how you live, cook, or get to work, you're not alone. What does this crisis look like in your kitchen? Tell me in the comments. If this changed how you hear the word temporary, stick around. We follow the money, not the headlines.